Rise and shine. Hands up, mine. Hands off, Randy. Do you remember watching My Name is Earl for the first time? That odd little NBC sitcom about a mustached loser who thought karma was out to get him? Back then, it felt like nothing else on TV. A show about bad luck, good deeds, and one man's attempt to balance the universe with a handwritten list. But behind that scruffy charm and the El Camino, there's a whole universe of hidden details, near disasters, and one shocking ending that NBC never aired. Here are 9 secrets about My Name is Earl, details you missed, moments you won't believe, and the truth about how karma almost didn't exist at all. Number 9. Jason Lee, the skater who became Earl Hickey. Before the mustache, before the list, before Earl Hickey ever walked across our screens, muttering about karma, there was Jason Lee, a man who lived life on 4 wheels and concrete. In the late 1980 seconds and early 90 seconds, Jason wasn't known in Hollywood at all. He was a legend in a completely different world, the underground world of professional skateboarding. To skaters, he wasn't an actor pretending to be cool. He was the real thing. Jason Lee was known for his effortless style, his precision, and that signature casual confidence that made every trick look like an accident that somehow landed perfectly. He wasn't just another face at the skate park. Jason helped define the era. He co-founded Stereo Skateboards with fellow skater Chris Pastras, a brand that brought art, music, and style into skating when the culture was still raw and rebellious. Stereo became an anthem for skaters who didn't fit in those who mixed punk grit with jazz rhythm, who saw the world not as a competition, but as a moving canvas. But as years went by, something shifted. Jason started feeling restless. Skateboarding had been his entire identity, yet he wanted to tell stories not just through tricks, but through people. Slowly, he began stepping into small acting roles. You might remember his first major appearance in Mallrats 1995, directed by Kevin Smith, where he played Brody, a loud, fast-talking slacker who felt oddly real. And that's because he was real. That authenticity, the way he slouched, the way he paused before speaking, the way his voice carried both humor and exhaustion, was something no acting school could teach. It was built from years of falling on pavement, getting back up, and never once apologizing for who he was. So when Jason Lee walked onto the set of My Name is Earl, something remarkable happened. He didn't just play the role, he merged with it. Earl Hickey wasn't written as a cool hero. He was a flawed man, tired of his own bad decisions, suddenly trying to do good. And Jason brought to him that same quiet defiance that once made him an icon on a skateboard, the half-step behind the world. The body that always looked slightly unbalanced, like someone still finding their footing. Every shrug, every confused stare, every "Hey Randy" came from a place of real-world imperfection. That's why Earl never felt like a character. He felt like someone you knew, and that was the magic. Jason Lee didn't become Earl Hickey through acting, he found him through memory. The same kid who once crashed through half-pipes and scraped his knees now wandered through Camden County, trying to repair the emotional scrapes of his own life. In many ways, My Name is Earl was Jason's second career built on the same spirit as his first. Both were about risk, rhythm, and balance. Skateboarding taught him how to fall with grace. Acting gave him the space to rise again. So when you see Earl Hickey walking down a dusty road, clutching his list, remember that walk isn't practiced, it's real. It's the walk of a skater turned philosopher, a man who once ruled the streets and ended up chasing redemption instead of fame. Jason Lee didn't just bring Earl to life, he brought himself. Number 8. The mustache that almost never was. When you think of My Name is Earl, what's the first thing that comes to mind? It's not the El Camino. It's not the list. It's that mustache. Thick, crooked, slightly tragic, but completely unforgettable. It's one of those rare TV details that becomes larger than the character himself. Like Fonzie's leather jacket or Kramer's hair, it is the character. And yet, that mustache almost never existed. When Jason Lee first read the script and saw the early concept art for Earl Hickey, his immediate reaction was, no way. He wanted Earl to feel real, to be an average man trying to do better. Not a clown with a comedy prop glued to his face. To him, the mustache felt like a joke waiting to happen, an easy stereotype that would turn Earl into a punchline the moment he appeared on screen. Lee, remember, came from the skate world, a culture that rejected anything fake or forced. The mustache? That felt like a costume, and Jason wanted truth. But Greg Garcia, the show's creator, saw something different. He understood television in a way few people did. Garcia knew that for a sitcom to last, it needed instant recognition. He wanted viewers to see one frame, one silhouette, and instantly know, that's Earl. He saw the mustache not as a gag, but as a symbol, a visual anchor in a sea of chaos. The debate dragged on. Lee pushed back. The producers insisted. And finally, somewhere between artistic pride and studio persuasion, Jason relented. He agreed to grow the mustache. When filming began, everyone on set held their breath. Would it look ridiculous? Would it ruin the tone? But something unexpected happened. Once Jason stepped in front of the camera, wearing that cheap flannel shirt, that worn-out face, that hesitant smirk, the mustache didn't make him look silly at all. It made him real. Suddenly, Earl Hickey wasn't a TV archetype. He was that guy from your small town, the one who peaked in high school, made too many bad choices, and still believes in a kind of dumb, stubborn goodness. The mustache didn't mock him, it completed him. It made you trust him, because only a man who doesn't care what people think would wear a mustache like that. And that became the paradox of Earl Hickey. The thing Jason Lee feared would trap him in a joke ended up freeing the character. The mustache didn't just define Earl's face, it defined his entire philosophy. It said, yeah, I messed up. I look ridiculous, but I'm trying anyway. And maybe that's why Earl's story still sticks with us. Because deep down, we've all worn our own kind of mustache, the thing we thought would embarrass us. But somehow, against all odds, number 7, the name Earl, was a handwriting mistake. Have you ever noticed how certain names just fit a character? Earl Hickey. In 24s to every place and code. It rolls off the tongue like something you'd read on a motel keychain or a worn work shirt. A name with no glamour, no mystery, just a faint smell of engine oil and bad decisions. It sounds perfect for a man who believes the universe is punishing him for every wrong he's ever done. But here's the strange part. Earl was never supposed to be named Earl at all. In Greg Garcia's original notes, the character's name was Carl. Simple, ordinary, the kind of name you'd find a dozen times in a small-town phone book. It fit the premise, a regular guy who wins the lottery, loses it, and decides to do good. But when the fictional birth certificate was typed up for the pilot episode's prop list, someone's penmanship slipped. The capital C curved too softly. The ink bled just enough, and what was meant to be Carl Hickey suddenly looked like Earl Hickey. A single stroke of human error. A handwriting mistake. And with it, the destiny of the entire show changed. Garcia could have fixed it easily. They could have reshot, retyped, rewritten the pilot. But instead, he leaned in. Because somehow, Earl just worked. Carl sounds safe, like a guy who never rocks the boat. But Earl? There's something comically unlucky about it. It's a name that already feels bruised. You hear it and picture someone with a busted car, a beer can in hand, and a stubborn faith that maybe, just maybe, things will get better. That tiny mistake became a creative blessing. It made the character sound real, not polished, not idealized, but human. Earl Hickey isn't the hero you name a child after. He's the kind of name that life gives you after too many wrong turns. And in a way, that's what the entire show is about. Not the grand, world-changing mistakes, but the small, stupid ones. The ones we make without realizing. The ones that reroute everything. A single wrong letter gave us a new name. A new name gave us a new man. And that man gave us one of the most oddly inspiring sitcoms in TV history. Because My Name is Earl wasn't just about karma. It was about how even the smallest accidents can lead to redemption. Sometimes destiny doesn't arrive in lightning bolts or life-changing speeches. Sometimes it's just a smudged letter on a piece of paper. And from that mistake, a legend was born. Number 7. The lottery idea began with losing something. We all know that My Name is Earl starts with a lottery ticket, a small slip of paper that changes everything. A man wins the jackpot, gets hit by a car, and wakes up believing the universe is giving him one last shot to fix his life. It's the kind of setup that feels too strange, too specific, too poetic to be made up. And that's because it wasn't. The idea for My Name is Earl was born from a real moment of loss. Not a tragedy, but something smaller, quieter, and, in a way, more haunting. Years before the show existed, creator Greg Garcia lost his own lottery ticket. 1 minute it was there, a few numbers, a folded piece of hope. The next, gone. No big drama, no explosion, just a sinking feeling, that whisper of what if, that echoes in your head far longer than it should. He never found out if it was a winner or not. It might have been worthless. It might have been worth millions. He'll never know. But that unanswered question stuck with him. What if that one small moment, that tiny accident, was actually fate nudging you? What if losing that ticket was the universe's way of saying, "You're not ready for this yet"? That single thought grew roots. Garcia imagined a man much less lucky than himself, a petty thief, a drunk, a screw-up, someone who'd never done a good thing in his life. Then, suddenly, that man wins the lottery. But before he can cash it in, karma quite literally hits him with a car. He wakes up broken, poor, and convinced that the only way to fix his luck is to fix his past. When Greg Garcia pitched that idea to NBC, the executives almost rejected it on the spot. They thought it was too weird. A sitcom about a criminal who believes in karma? A redemption story about a guy who can barely spell redemption? It didn't fit the mold. It wasn't glossy or clever. But Garcia refused to change it. To him, the lottery wasn't about money at all. It was about a lesson that comes to every one of us eventually, that luck doesn't change who you are. Only action does. And that's why My Name is Earl works. Because deep down, we've all lost something small that left a big mark. A phone number, a chance, a friendship. And afterward, we wonder what if that loss wasn't bad luck, but a sign to start doing better. In Greg Garcia's hands, one missing lottery ticket became the spark for a show about moral debt and human hope. It taught us something subtle, that life's biggest turns don't come from winning. They come from losing, realizing, and trying again. Because sometimes, the universe doesn't punish you when you're bad. It just waits until you're ready to notice. Number 5. Joy Turner was almost just a background character. Every great sitcom has that one character who steals the room the moment they walk in. For My Name is Earl, that person was Joy Turner, Earl's fiery ex-wife with a voice that could crack glass and confidence that could stop traffic. The hair, the nails, the chewing gum, the chaos. She was the storm in Camden County. Every time Joy appeared, you just knew something was about to explode. But here's what almost no one realizes. Joy wasn't supposed to exist like that. In the original script, she was barely more than a footnote, a secondary nuisance in Earl's past, a one-dimensional ex-wife, written to nag, cause trouble, and disappear. She wasn't written to be unforgettable. She was written to be forgettable. Then came Jaime Pressly. When she auditioned, she didn't just read the lines, she devoured them. The energy in the room changed. What was written as a background annoyance suddenly became a living, breathing hurricane of ambition, spite, and charisma. Jaime didn't play Joy like a sitcom caricature. She gave her rhythm. A fierce, musical cadence that turned every insult into poetry, and every insulted reaction into a punchline. She made rage funny. She made selfishness endearing. The producers watched, stunned. The crew laughed. Greg Garcia leaned over to one of the writers and whispered, "Well, there goes the script." They rewrote everything. Scenes that had been centered around Earl and Randy now had to make room for Joy. Entire storylines were rebuilt to let her explode on screen. Because Joy wasn't just a side note anymore, she was a gravitational force. You couldn't ignore her. And Jaime Pressly didn't just make Joy funny. She made her real. Beneath all the chaos and screaming, you could still see a woman who wanted something simple: control. Control over her life, her kids, her choices, even when those choices made no sense to anyone else. It's why viewers didn't hate her, even when she was terrible. Because deep down, Joy wasn't evil. She was human. She just wanted to win for once, in a world where life had already told her she'd lose. Jaime Pressly's performance became one of the show's defining miracles. She turned a line in a script into an icon. And when she won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series in 2007, it wasn't just a trophy. It was proof that sometimes the character you least expect can carry the heart of an entire show. Joy Turner didn't just survive My Name is Earl. She took it over. And that, right there, is the magic of great television. When a performer steps onto the set, and suddenly, the writers, the crew, the audience all realize, oh, this is what the story was missing. Because in Camden County, karma may belong to Earl, but the chaos? That's all Joy. Number 4. Earl never opens his eyes in any photograph. It's one of those details you've probably seen 100 times, but never noticed. Earl Hickey, driver's license photo, mugshot, family picture, wedding album, in every single one, his eyes are closed. It feels like a running gag. A small visual joke in a sitcom full of bigger laughs. But in My Name is Earl, almost nothing is ever just a joke. This little detail is actually one of the most poetic touches in the entire series. The choice was deliberate, a quiet nod to Forrest Gump. Remember how Forrest never opened his eyes in photographs either? Two men who couldn't be more different on the surface, yet both carried the same strange, childlike sincerity. Both moved through life, guided by fate rather than intellect, by heart instead of reason. Earl doesn't see life clearly. He doesn't analyze it. He just feels it, stumbles through it, the same way Forrest does. When you think about it, their entire stories are reflections of each other. Forrest runs through life without understanding why things happen to him. Earl crawls through his, trying to make sense of why they did. Both men are searching for something invisible meaning. So Earl's closed eyes became a symbol. A subtle, recurring reminder that he's never really looking at his life. He's living it blindly, guided by a moral compass he barely understands. It's the universe leading the way, not his own vision. And it fits perfectly with the show's philosophy. My Name is Earl was never about a man who sees the truth. It's about a man who learns it the hard way. The accidents, the chaos, the bad luck, they're all lessons that only make sense in hindsight. It's as if the show is whispering, you don't need to have your eyes open to start seeing clearly. When we first watched, we laughed at the gag. Earl blinked again. But rewatch it now, and you start to feel something deeper. Because in those photos, with his eyes shut tight, Earl looks almost peaceful. As if the man who's made every mistake in the book has finally found a way to stop judging himself, if only for the flash of a camera. It's a small, almost invisible choice that says something enormous about who Earl is. He's not someone who understands life as it happens. He's someone who feels it, trips through it, bruises his way toward wisdom. And that's why we love him. Because most of us don't go through life with our eyes wide open, either. We stumble, we blink, we miss the signs and only later realize what they meant. So the next time you see one of Earl's closed-eye photos, remember, it isn't a punchline. It's a reminder that sometimes the people who see the least are the ones who understand the most. Number 3. Camden County doesn't exist on any map. If you grew up watching My Name is Earl, you probably assumed Camden County was a real place. The neon signs, the crab shack, the cheap motels, gas stations, and palm trees that seemed somehow out of place. It felt real. So real, you could almost smell the beer on the bar counter and the dust on the road. But here's the strange truth. Camden County doesn't exist anywhere. You can search every map, every GPS, every state line. And that was never a mistake. It was intentional. Greg Garcia, the creator of the show, wanted Camden County to be a kind of American mirage, familiar to everyone, specific to no one. A patchwork town built from memories, not geography. He took pieces of everywhere he'd lived or traveled, a diner from Maryland, a street corner from California, a rundown motel from Texas, and stitched them together into one fictional county that somehow feels like every town you've ever passed through. Because Camden wasn't meant to be a location, it was meant to be a feeling. Think about it, the pacing, the tone, even the sunlight of My Name is Earl is timeless. You can't quite tell what decade it's in. There's no sense of modern technology, no smartphones, no clear politics, no outside world at all. Camden exists in its own bubble, a self-contained universe where the only laws that matter are bad luck and good karma. That choice was genius. It made the show more than a sitcom, it made it a kind of moral fable. Because when a story takes place somewhere specific, it belongs to that place. But when it takes place anywhere, it belongs to everyone. And that's why so many viewers, whether they lived in Chicago, or Alabama, or London, or Madrid, felt like Camden could have been their own neighborhood. It wasn't southern, or northern, or coastal. It was just America, stripped down to its most ordinary, imperfect heart. You could walk into that convenience store. You could sit next to Darnell at the Crab Shack. You could see Randy wandering the streets with that lost, loyal look in his eyes. Camden County became the home for people who never felt at home anywhere else. A safe, funny, messy little world where mistakes didn't define you forever. They just gave you something to fix. It's no accident that we never learn what state Camden's in. Garcia once said, "It could be anywhere because people who need second chances live everywhere." And that's the quiet magic of My Name is Earl. You start watching it thinking it's about one man's redemption. But the more you watch, the more you realize Camden County is our town. Every bad decision, every apology, every awkward attempt to make things right, it's us. Camden doesn't need to exist on a map. It exists every time someone, somewhere, decides to do one small good thing just because it feels right. And maybe that's why, even years later, fans still feel nostalgic for it. Because deep down, Camden County is the one place we all wish we could go. A town where you can mess up your life completely and still start over again tomorrow. Number 2. Camden was named after Greg Garcia's son. When you first watched My Name is Earl, Camden County probably sounded like any other small-town name. Simple, ordinary, a name that could sit quietly on a welcome sign without asking for attention. But what if I told you that Camden isn't just a name, it's a love letter? Because the truth is, Greg Garcia, the creator of My Name is Earl, named the entire town after his real-life son, Camden Garcia. Now, think about that for a moment. This isn't a throwaway trivia fact. It changes how you see the whole show. Every dusty road, every broken neon light, every street corner where Earl stands holding his crumpled list, all of it takes place inside a world named after someone Greg Garcia loves most in this world. It's as if, underneath all the jokes, all the chaos, all the absurdity, the show was really a gift from a father to his child. Greg Garcia once said that he wanted My Name is Earl to be a story about forgiveness, not just in the spiritual sense, but in the human one. He wanted it to be a world where people could mess up, fail spectacularly, and still be loved. Where even the most broken characters could find warmth, friendship, and a chance to start again. So, what better name could he choose than the one that reminded him why that message matters? Naming the town after his son made Camden more than a fictional backdrop, it made it personal. It's no longer just where Earl tries to balance karma. It's where a father reminds his child that no mistake is too big to come back from. Think about it. Every time Earl drives past the Welcome to Camden County sign, he's unknowingly driving into a story that was built on love. A place where second chances aren't just a plot device, they're a promise. And maybe that's why My Name is Earl never feels cynical, even when it's at its darkest or most ridiculous. Because deep down, It's a show made by someone who believes in people, who believes that kindness, forgiveness, and redemption are real things. That subtle, almost invisible detail, the naming of Camden, becomes one of the most beautiful secrets in television. Most of us didn't notice it back then. We laughed at the jokes, followed the list, felt good when karma did its thing. But behind every episode was a small, quiet message from a dad to his son. The world might not always be fair, but there's always a chance to make it better. It's easy to think of My Name is Earl as a comedy about bad luck. But once you know this, it feels like something more like a father building a world where his kid could grow up believing that mistakes aren't final and love never runs out. So next time you hear someone say Camden County, remember that name carries more than geography. It carries heart. It carries family. It carries the reason My Name is Earl still makes us believe in second chances all these years later. Number 1. Greg Garcia doesn't believe in karma. It's almost poetic, isn't it? A show built entirely around the idea of karma, the belief that what you give to the world comes back to you, was created by a man who doesn't believe in it at all. That man was Greg Garcia. And for him, My Name is Earl wasn't born from a grand spiritual awakening or a mystical revelation. It began as something simple, a funny idea. He once admitted that karma, at first, was just a story tool, a convenient excuse to send Earl from one ridiculous situation to the next. Nothing divine, nothing philosophical, just a device to make a comedy about a loser trying to fix his life. But then, something strange happened. The audience didn't see it as a gimmick. They took it to heart. Letters began arriving, hundreds of them. People wrote about making lists of their own, about apologizing to people they had wronged, about paying back debts, forgiving old grudges, helping strangers. Some even said the show changed their lives. They weren't laughing at Earl. They were learning from him. And that's when the irony of it all came full circle. Greg Garcia, the man who didn't believe in karma, accidentally created one of the most profoundly moral shows in modern television. He once joked that the viewers turned his joke into their faith. But deep down, even he seemed moved by it. Because the thing about good stories is that they sometimes become bigger than the storyteller. Maybe Greg Garcia didn't believe in karma, but karma seemed to believe in him. Because look at what happened. A cynical sitcom pitch became a feel-good movement. A character designed for laughs became a symbol of redemption. And a world filled with petty criminals and screw-ups somehow became one of the most hopeful universes TV ever gave us. That's the strange power of My Name is Earl. It doesn't preach. It doesn't try to teach you anything. It just lives, breathes, and quietly reminds you that being good still matters even when no one's watching. Greg Garcia might not have believed in cosmic justice, but he did believe in something else, people. He believed that, given a chance, we're capable of doing the right thing. Not because the universe demands it, but because we want to. And maybe that's the truest form of karma after all. Not the supernatural kind, but the human kind. The kind that begins with a small choice, a quiet apology, a moment of grace. So even if Garcia never set out to make a moral fable, he did. Because sometimes, belief doesn't start with faith. It starts with a story that makes people believe again. And in that way, Greg Garcia didn't just create a sitcom. He accidentally created hope. We used to think My Name is Earl was just a goofy sitcom about karma. But rewatch it now, it's a story about redemption, mistakes, and how one person's small good deeds can ripple across a world that desperately needs them. Earl never became perfect. Camden never became peaceful. But the good kept spreading. Quietly, persistently, just like the show itself. So tell me, when you rewatch My Name is Earl, what detail did you miss the first time? Drop your favorite moment in the comments. And if you love revisiting forgotten TV classics, hit that like button, subscribe to Classic Hollywood, and stay tuned. We've got a lot more stories waiting to be told.